Hello guys, it's John here from the Body Engineers, and in today's workout I've got a cool little abdominal workout that we're going to do. So we're going to be training the abs in different ways. We're going to be doing flexion, some extension exercises, side bend exercises. So we're going to work different parts of the abdominals, kind of targeting different areas for each part. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to do a quick little warm up just to help with some of the exercises we're going to do later on in this workout. So to start with, what we're going to do is you just need a bench or a seat to sit on, and we're going to start with some pelvic tilts. So it's sometimes easier to do this on a chair where you're trying to squeeze. You're starting in an arched back, so you're tilting your pelvis forward like that to arch your back, and then you're squeezing your abs to roll your pelvis back like that. So when you squeeze your abs, the back should round, and then as you arch, the abs will lengthen. So if you're standing up, it's the same thing. So if you just gonna, so you can see, so if I arch, so my pelvis, the back arches more, the pelvis tilts forward, and then as I squeeze my abs and my glutes, then I'm gonna tilt the pelvis backwards, and I'm gonna be rounding the lower back. So we need to be able to get used to doing this motion for some of the exercises we're going to do. For example, the ab wheel rollout, you want to make sure that you're tilting your pelvis backwards a little bit, posterior tilt, in order to make sure that your back doesn't arch too much. And then what we're going to do is sit on a bench, and we're going to do a trunk extension warm up. So you're just going to put your hands on your collarbones, and then you're just extending the spine up by trying to lift the elbows up and arching your back as much as possible. So you should feel quite a lot of squeezing around the mid back. This is important for the crunch exercise that we're going to do on the pad over there, because you're going to need to make sure that you don't use some sort of the support which puts you into too much extension. So you want to match the amount of extension you have with the support to the amount of extension you have. So we're going to do that, and then so you can do that for a few seconds, and then a trunk side bend exercise, which is like a body weight, where you're just trying to squeeze the side muscles. So you're trying to keep weight even on both hips, across the arms, and then you're just side bending to one side and trying to bring your top of the shoulder towards your hip, and you're trying to squeeze these muscles here. Now again, in a similar way to the crunch, we'll need to determine when we're doing this side crunch exercise how much support you need based on how much you can actually side bend to one side. And then you're going to do the same on the other side. So you just side bend to the other side, trying to bring your top of your shoulder to the same side hip, and then back to the other side. And you can do this a few times each side just to warm up these muscles. And then trunk flexion in the seated position, you're trying to squeeze your abs to round your back. So squeeze from here. This is probably the easiest version of a crunch you could do, where you're squeezing your abs to slouch your back essentially, but you're not just trying to let it drop like this. You're actually trying to get there by squeezing your abs only. And then you could go back into more of an extension exercise, and then down and squeeze your abs. So there's just a few exercises you can do to warm up the abs, particularly for these exercises we're going to do. So for the first 3 exercises, so what we're going to do is 50 seconds of work followed by 15 seconds of rest. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with an ab exercise in a more lengthened position, which is the ab rollout. So I'm going to get this mat out of the way. You might need a mat for your knees, so you could place the mat, put your knees on the mat like this. And then what I'm using is some dumbbells, because these have a spin, they spin on the inside. These can be used for abdominal rollout, but if you have an ab wheel, that's the same thing. So for this exercise, you're starting with the hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. Then you're extending the hip first without extending the arms. Now at this point, you want to kind of posteriorly tilt your pelvis back a bit to squeeze your abs as much as you can, and keep that tension as you extend the arms. because what your body's going to want to do is arch your back even more the more you extend out. And so you want to stop yourself from doing that so that you're really engaging your abs as hard as possible. If you can't maintain that sort of pelvis position, then you probably don't want to go out quite as far. And then for the next one, we're going to do a plank. So for the plank, it's just an isometric for the abs. So we're going from a lengthened position to a more neutral kind of mid-length position. So you're just going to go with your forearms on the mat and squeeze. So you're holding a nice strong plank, and then you're trying to drive your elbows and your feet towards each other to squeeze your abs even more. So rather than just holding the plank, you could just drive and scale. It's hard to see on video, but I'm trying to bring my elbows down towards my feet and the feet towards my elbows. And that will just help to engage your abs even more. So that's for the mid-length. And then for the last exercise, we're going to go into a short position. So I've got a pad here from RTS, but if you don't have a pad like this, you could just create something out of a pillow and try and match the amount of extension you have in your back with the support that you're going to use. So then you're going to sit on top of the support, and then you're going to attach a band to something solid behind you. And then you keep your elbows in. So this is a banded bodyweight crunch, and then you're just crunching up, and you can lift the legs up a little bit and really squeeze at the top. So roll forward, pause, and then slowly back. So there's the 3 exercises that we're going to do for the first series, and then we'll have a little break, and then we'll go into the final series. So I've got my timer here. We're going to do 50 seconds, followed by 15 seconds of rest, starting in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So we're starting with the ab rollout first. So just place your knees on the mat, and then if you have ab wheel or dumbbells, so you're just keeping the knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders, extend the hip first, roll your pelvis back a little bit, and then extend out with the arms, and then drive into the floor to come back up. Now you can keep your hip extended the whole time. That's it. The reason why this one is first is because it's hard. It's a bit more involved in this exercise compared to some of the other ones. And rest there. So then we're going to go into the plank, which is more of a mid-length position. So I'm going to get these dumbbells out of the way quickly. And then we're going to go into a plank on the mat. So on your forearms. And actually you can do on the edge like this. And then you're trying to drive your feet up and elbows towards each other. Trying to squeeze your abs as hard as you can. That's it, and we've got 30 seconds left. And again, you want to keep the back nice and straight. Try to make sure the back doesn't round or arch too much. That's it, hold it. 15 seconds. 10. It's hard after doing the ab rollout. And rest there. Good. And then we're going to go to the band resisted bodyweight crunch on with pad for support. So you're going to lie on the pad and grab the band. So feet flat on the ground to start with, and then you're just rolling into the pad, driving the elbows. Keep the elbows in, crunch up. This is really hard. After doing the other two. So if you want to make it easier, you can scooch back a bit and you can cross the arms instead of using the band. So you're making the angle, the support is helping you a little bit. And you're just slowly crunching up, pause at the top, slowly back. And rest there. Good job. Okay, and then we're going back to the ab wheel out. So this is going to be really hard this last round. So if you can manage it, I would do another round after this, although that might be enough. Or you could just give yourself a little bit of rest in between rounds, just to allow your abs to recover a bit. So you can extend the hip first. Make sure you're not overarching. And then you're coming back up. And extend. And if it's too hard, like, you could just hold this position, go out a little bit, come back in, out a little bit, back in. That's probably going to be hard enough as it is. As you can see, I haven't done abs for a while, and rest there. And then we're going to go back into a plank. So forearms on the mat. Nice strong plank, so just wait for the time. And let's go. So coming up into a nice strong plank, squeeze the abs as hard as you can. Drive the elbows down to the floor, towards your feet, sorry. Keep the hips up. And again, if this is too hard, you can go to the knees if you want to make it a bit easier for this round. Or you can go into a full plank, squeezing the abs as hard as you can. That's it. A few more seconds. Just over 15. That's it. Keep going. Keep squeezing. Make sure you don't lose tension in the abs. And rest there. Ooh, it's tough. And then last one is the ab crunch again. So if the ab crunch was a bit too challenging, because typically you would do the short end first. So you do something which is short like this, where you're really shortening the muscle as much as possible. For the first exercise, because it's generally going to be the hardest. But for this one, you can actually use the support to make it a bit easier by sitting more in front of it, so there's less body weight going this way on the other side of the heel. So you don't have to work against gravity as much. And then pause at the top. Pause, and then slowly back. Roll, pause. That's it. Keep going. If you want to make it harder, you can add the band resistance like we did in the first round. And rest there. Okay, that's the end of this little first set of exercises. We've got just a little break, give yourself a few minutes, and then we'll be going into some other exercises, doing a bit more side bend and a few other things for some of the other trunk muscles. I'll see you in a second. All right guys, so for the second series of exercises of this ab workout, we're going to do a side crunch using the CorePad that we have at the Body Engineers. Now if you don't have something like this, then you could use a series of pillows to make. You would need a more support, like a thicker than the crunch that we did in the first round, and you want to match the amount of support to the amount of side bend you have. So however much you can side bend to one side, you want to match the curvature of the support to that amount ideally. So what you're going to do for this exercise is you're going to lie on your side, so that the in between the pelvis and the ribs, that space where there's no bone, you're going to place on the top of the pad, and then you're going to bend the bottom leg, keep the other leg straight, and then you're just resting your head on your hand. So you're trying to side bend your head downwards into the floor. Use your other hand to just hold your forearm, and then you're just making sure you stack the hips and stack the shoulders. And then you're slowly rolling into the pad and squeezing at the top here. So you should feel this around the top here. So this is one of the fundamental movements of the trunk, which is to side bend, and it's typically not really trained very much in the gym. So this is a good exercise to do for sure. So we're going to do one round on each side, and then we're going to go into a back extension where you're going to use the same support and then just place your kind of the hips just on top of the pad, and then cross the arms or cross the hands behind the head, and then you're just slowly crunching or letting your body go forward, and then you're just driving up and squeezing at the top, and you should feel this around the erector spinae in the lower back and into the mid back. So this is a good one at training your back and your spine in extension. So we've done flexion in the first round, mostly flexion, pretty much all flexion, and then we're doing side bend and extension. So, and then in another workout we'll do a rotational exercise, which again is another fundamental movement of the spine. So we're going to do, I've got my time here, we're going to do 50 seconds for each one, followed by 15 seconds of transition, starting in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So onto the mat on your side, and then making sure that space in between the ribs and the pelvis is on top to start with, head on the hand, and then you're just holding your forearm with your other hand, and then you're trying to slowly bring the top of the shoulder to your hip, and then bring your head down to make sure you're not using your neck too much. So slowly coming up, pause, and then slowly down again. Pause at the top, and then slowly back. So you should really feel this on the top here, and then you make sure that because sometimes if you kind of rotate back like this and you side bend up, you're trying to use your abs too much. So make sure that you're rotated right forward, and there'll be less range, but you'll get more into the spine as well. And then we're going to do the other side. So I'm just going to do the other side this time. So this might get in the way a little bit. So you just make sure you're on top of the pad, and then resting the head on the hands. So you're just crunching up, pausing at the top, and then slowly back down again. So you're just making sure that the hips are stacked and the shoulders are stacked, and you're squeezing right at the top here, and then slowly back. That's it. And then make sure you're pushing your head down into the floor and not side bending the neck. So you're not filling in the neck too much, just in the side muscles, the obliques, the erector spinae. Pause, and then slowly back. That's it, pause. A few more seconds. And rest there, good job. And then we're gonna go onto your front and do the back extension. So you're gonna have your front right on top of the pad, hands behind head, and then you're crunching forwards. And then you're just extending right up, trying to get as full extension as you can. Feeling it into the mid to lower back. And then just roll or crunch forwards. And then extend, and you can bias one side by rotating slightly and then extending. And you might feel it a bit more on one side than the other. And then when you do go down again, then you can rotate slightly to the other side. And by keeping your shoulders together, it's going to help a little bit with that extension. That's it. Pause at the top, slowly back. A few more seconds, and rest there. Okay, so that's the end of the first round. We've got one more to go, so we're going to go back to the side crunch, starting on the same side. So you're going to lie on your side again, making sure that the space in between ribs and pelvis is on the top of the pad, and then you're resting your head on your hand. And then top leg is straight, bottom leg bent, side bend. Keep your head down towards the floor. Trying to bring that top of the shoulder to the top of the pelvis. Just pause, and then slowly down. That's it. A few more seconds. Make sure you're always pushing your head down into your hands. Otherwise you'll feel it too much in the neck. That's it. And where you position yourself on the pad is going to make a difference as well as to exactly how hard it is and where exactly you feel it. Good. And then back to the other side for the last one on this exercise. So making sure you're right in the middle again. Stack the hips, bend the bottom leg, top leg straight. And then just side bending, keeping your head down. Pause at the top. And if you don't feel it into the erector spinae or into the back, the spinal muscles, then just bring your shoulder, top shoulder backwards a bit as you side bend up. That's it. Pause, slowly back. Keep the head down. Trying to bring the shoulder to the top of the hip. A few more seconds. Good. And rest there. All right, and then the last one, back to the back extension. So lie on top of the pad, and then hands behind head. So you could scooch a bit more on top of it. So the more the top of the hip is close to the top of the pad. And then as you extend, it's going to be harder. And you're going to feel it more into the lower back and into the lower erectors. And you can rotate slightly to one side again. Fully extend, try and find the top. Pause, and then slowly back. You can bend the legs a bit as well. Make sure you're not lifting the chin, so you keep the chin right down. That's it. So a lot of people don't think that this is the core, but it is. It's still involved. Like some of the deep abdominal muscles go right round into the spine on the back here, so you want to train that extension as well. It's really important. So that's the end of this little workout sequence. So make sure to like, comment and subscribe down below. Let me know what you think. And in the coming weeks, we'll definitely be doing more videos just like this, doing both upper, lower body and ab exercises in one workout for each one. So as always guys, remember to be your best you, and I'll see you soon.
The Body Engineers.